Have you ever reached a financial milestone that you thought would completely change your life, only to realize a few months later that you still feel the same way about money? Maybe you finally crossed $50,000 in savings, or you landed a job paying $80,000 a year, and you thought, this is it. This is the moment I stop worrying. But then life happened, expenses kept creeping up, and somehow you are still checking your bank balance before buying anything, wondering whether you can really afford dinner out. Here is something that might totally change how you think about financial security. There is a specific number where things start to feel different, where that constant low-level money anxiety begins to fade, and that number is $100,000 in liquid savings. My name is Alicia, and I have spent years studying the psychology of money and why certain financial milestones create such dramatic shifts in how people experience everyday life. If you are working toward financial freedom, but are not sure what that actually looks like in real life, or if you want to understand why $100,000 is the number that changes everything, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit like if this helps you out. Here is what most financial advice gets completely wrong. It treats money like a straight line, where having $2,000 is simply twice as good as having $1,000, and $10,000 is just 10 times better. But that is not how money works in real life. Money has threshold effects, specific points where moving from $99,999 to $100,000 creates a psychological and practical shift that is much bigger than the $1 difference suggests. And $100,000 in liquid accessible savings is the point where you stop feeling broke, even if you're not rich. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, great, another finance person telling me I need 6 figures in the bank like that is easy, stick with me. Because understanding why $100,000 is the magic number will completely change how you think about building wealth. It is not just about having a large number in your account. It is about what that number does to your brain, your decision-making, and your whole relationship with money. Once you understand why $100,000 changes everything, you can start working toward it deliberately instead of just hoping money appears by accident. Let us start with the most obvious reason why $100,000 feels different. It is the first time most people actually have what qualifies as a real emergency fund, not the starter emergency fund that finance influencers tell you to begin with, not the 3 months of expenses that sounds fine in theory but barely covers rent when something actually goes wrong. I am talking about a real buffer that can handle several emergencies happening at once without wrecking your financial life. Think about what most people call an emergency fund. They might have $5,000 to $10,000 sitting in savings and feel pretty proud of themselves for having it. Then their car needs a $3,000 repair. Fine, that is what the emergency fund is for, right? Except now they are down to $2,000 to $7,000 and suddenly scrambling to rebuild it. But before they get back to where they were, the laptop dies. That is another $1,500. Now they are stressed all over again because the emergency fund is basically gone, and they are one more surprise expense away from charging things to a credit card. That is the treadmill that makes people feel broke even when they are technically being responsible. They build a small emergency fund, something happens, they drain it, they rebuild it, something else happens, and they never really get ahead. It is like trying to bail water out of a leaking boat. You are constantly working, but you never actually fix the leak. But when you have $100,000 sitting there, the whole dynamic changes. Your car needs $3,000 in repairs. Annoying, but not catastrophic. Your laptop dies. Frustrating, but manageable. You can handle both and still have $95,500 left. You are not back at zero, stressed about rebuilding. You are still in a strong position. Here is what is really interesting about that psychological shift. It is not just math. Of course, $100,000 can cover more expenses than $10,000. That part is obvious. What changes is how you feel about money every day. When you have a smaller emergency fund, every unexpected expense feels like a crisis because it takes a big bite out of your safety net. You are constantly in a state of low-grade financial anxiety, always bracing for the next thing that could go wrong. But when you have $100,000, Individual expenses start to feel like rounding errors. The $3,000 car repair is 3% of your savings, not 30% or 60%. Your brain stops treating every surprise as an emergency. That leads us to the second major shift that happens at $100,000. You stop making decisions from fear. Think about how most people act when they are living paycheck to paycheck or operating with very little savings. Every choice is driven by scarcity and anxiety. Should I take this job that pays more but requires moving? Too risky. What if it does not work out and I cannot find something else? Should I negotiate harder for a raise? Better not push it. I cannot afford to lose this job. Should I start the side business I have been thinking about? Absolutely not. I need every dollar from my steady paycheck. Fear-based money decisions keep people stuck in situations that limit their earning potential and career growth. They cannot take calculated risks because they do not have a cushion to absorb failure. They cannot leave toxic work environments because they need the paycheck too badly. They cannot spend time learning new skills or exploring new opportunities because they are too busy grinding just to cover expenses. But when you have $100,000 in the bank, you have real options. Not pretend options, real ones. Suddenly that job opportunity that requires relocating becomes something you can actually consider. If it does not work out, you have enough runway to find something else without immediately panicking about rent. That raise negotiation becomes less terrifying because even in the worst-case scenario, if they let you go, you have months to find a new job. That side business idea becomes something you can test without betting your entire financial security on it. This is what financial advisors mean when they say money buys freedom, but they usually explain it in abstract terms. The practical reality is that $100,000 gives you enough breathing room to make decisions based on what is actually good for your future, not just what feels safest in the moment. Now let us talk about something that almost nobody discusses openly: the mental energy financial stress consumes. When you are broke or barely scraping by, a huge part of your brain is constantly occupied with money anxiety. You are always running calculations in your head. Can I afford this? If I buy this now, what do I have to skip later? How many days until payday? What is my balance right now? Is that charge going to overdraft me? That constant mental load is exhausting, and it spills into every part of your life. There is actual research on this called scarcity mindset, and it shows that financial stress literally reduces your effective IQ. When your brain is always worried about money, you have less mental capacity left for everything else. You make worse decisions at work. You become less creative. You get more irritable with the people around you. You miss opportunities because your brain is too drained to notice them. It is like trying to run your computer with 50 background programs open. Everything slows down and nothing works quite right. But here is what happens when you hit $100,000 in savings. All that background noise starts to quiet down. You are not constantly checking your balance before making a purchase. You are not doing mental math just to see whether you can afford groceries this week. You are not lying awake wondering what happens if your car breaks down. Your brain can finally focus on things that actually move your life forward instead of constantly managing financial fear. That kind of cognitive freedom is worth far more than the actual number sitting in your account. Now let us deal with something that may make you uncomfortable. The idea of needing $100,000 in savings probably sounds impossible if you're currently struggling to save even $10,000. You may be thinking about all your expenses, all your debt, and all the reasons why getting to six figures would take decades at your current pace. And honestly, if you keep doing what you're doing now, that may be true. But here is what is different about reaching $100,000 compared with smaller goals. The path there forces you to completely change how you handle money. You cannot accidentally save $100,000. You cannot get there by just being a little more careful, cutting a few lattes, and hoping for the best. Getting to $100,000 requires you to become a different financial person. You have to live below your means for a long time. You have to build the discipline not to touch your savings, even when you want something badly. You have to get serious about growing your income, because cutting expenses alone probably will not get you there fast enough. And the beautiful part is that all those changes you make to reach $100,000 are the same changes that will help you build even more wealth after you get there. Think about someone who saves their first $10,000. That is a huge accomplishment, and they should absolutely be proud. But the skills required to get there are still fairly basic. They had to spend less than they earned for a while. They had to resist some temptations. They had to be patient. Those are all good things, but they are not fully transformative. Now think about someone who builds up $100,000 in savings. That person has developed serious financial discipline. They have said no to lifestyle inflation probably hundreds of times. They have made strategic career moves to boost income. They have stayed on course through market downturns, through friends buying homes and taking expensive trips, through all the pressure to spend money they do not have on things they do not need. The person with $100,000 is not just wealthier than the person with $10,000. They are a completely different kind of decision maker when it comes to money. That is why they are far less likely to ever feel broke again, even if they spend some of it or hit a setback. They have internalized the habits and mindsets that create real security. Here is another shift that happens at $100,000. You start to understand the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Most people think those words mean the same thing, but they do not. Being rich is about income, about how much money flows through your hands. Being wealthy is about assets, about how much you have kept. You can be rich and still broke if you spend everything you make. You can be wealthy on a modest salary if you consistently save and invest. Once you have $100,000 in the bank, you have crossed from simply earning money into actually building wealth. And that mental shift changes everything. People who are rich but have no real savings are still living in scarcity, even if they do not realize it. They might spend thousands on luxury items and experiences, but they are still living paycheck to paycheck, just at a higher dollar amount. They are still one job loss away from financial disaster. They still cannot take risks that could benefit them long-term if they require short-term sacrifice. But people who are wealthy, even if their income is more modest, have a completely different set of choices. They can take a lower-paying job if it offers better balance. They can pursue a passion project that is not immediately profitable. They can invest in opportunities that may take years to pay off. That is why you often see someone making $200,000 a year feeling more stressed than someone making $70,000 a year with $100,000 saved. The high earner is trapped in a lifestyle that consumes every dollar. The person with savings has flexibility and security the high earner cannot buy. Once you understand that, you stop chasing income alone and start focusing on actually building wealth. Let us talk about something practical that changes a lot when you hit $100,000. Your investing behavior and your tolerance for risk. When you are working with small amounts, investing feels scary. If you have $5,000 and put it in the market, a 10% drop means you lost $500. That feels significant. It hurts. You might panic and sell, locking in your losses. Or you might become so afraid of losing money that you leave everything in savings earning almost nothing. But when you have $100,000 and you are investing it properly, the psychology shifts. Yes, a 10% market drop means $10,000 on paper, which sounds much worse than $500. But here is the difference. You know you have enough cushion that the temporary drop does not threaten your life. You can ride out volatility because you are not desperate for that money next month. You can think long-term instead of panicking over short-term swings. That calm during volatility is what separates the investors who build real wealth from the people who buy high, sell low, and never get ahead. And when you are investing $100,000, compound growth starts to feel real. 10% annual returns on $5,000 is $500. Nice, but not life-changing. 10% on $100,000 is $10,000. That is real money. That is like a part-time job your portfolio is doing while you are doing absolutely nothing. Once you start seeing your money generate thousands in returns, investing stops feeling abstract and starts feeling like a genuine wealth engine. Here is something most people do not realize until they experience it. $100,000 is the point where your money starts working as hard as you do. When you live paycheck to paycheck, you are the only engine in your financial life. Every dollar came from you trading time and energy for money. But when you have $100,000 invested and it starts producing returns, you now have a second engine. Your money is making money. And while $10,000 a year in investment returns might not replace your salary, it is covering meaningful expenses without any additional work from you. That is the beginning of compounding in a way most people only hear about in theory. When you make $10,000 from investments and reinvest it, next year you are earning returns on $110,000 instead of $100,000. The year after that, if you keep reinvesting, it becomes $121,000. Your wealth starts snowballing, growing faster and faster without requiring proportionally more effort. Once you experience that firsthand, your entire relationship with work and money changes. You stop thinking only about the paycheck and start thinking about how to accelerate the process of letting money work for you. Now let us talk about something almost nobody discusses: what $100,000 does to your relationships. Money affects every relationship in your life, whether people want to admit it or not. When you are broke, you are constantly carrying financial stress that shapes how you interact with everyone around you. You cannot help friends who are struggling because you are barely keeping your own head above water. You feel guilty when family members help you. You get irritated when friends suggest expensive plans you cannot afford. But when you have $100,000 saved, those dynamics shift completely. You can help people without putting your own stability at risk. If a friend needs to borrow $1,000, you can actually think about it without panicking about your own bills. If your parents need help, you have the ability to contribute. That does not mean you become everyone's ATM. It means you have the freedom to be generous when it matters. And that ability to help others without sacrificing your own security is incredibly freeing. There is also something powerful that happens in romantic relationships when you have real financial stability. Money is one of the biggest causes of stress and divorce. When you are financially stable, you remove one of the major sources of conflict from the relationship. You and your partner can talk about the future without being overwhelmed by anxiety about bills. You can make decisions about careers, family, and lifestyle based on what you actually want rather than what you can barely afford. That does not mean money solves every relationship problem, but it absolutely removes one of the biggest ones. Here is the final piece that makes $100,000 truly transformative. It changes how you relate to work. When you have no savings, work is something you do because the alternative is homelessness and starvation. You stay in jobs you hate. You put up with terrible bosses. You sacrifice your health and relationships because you feel like you have no choice. But $100,000 buys you something priceless: the ability to walk away. That does not mean quitting your job and living off your savings until it disappears. That would be foolish. It means you are no longer making decisions from desperation. If your boss is abusive, you can look for another job without the fear of missing even one paycheck. If your company asks you to do something unethical, you can say no without immediately wondering how you will pay rent. If you want to negotiate for better pay or better conditions, you can do it from strength instead of fear. That changes everything about how you approach your career. You can take your time finding the right opportunity instead of jumping at the first thing that appears. You can invest in new skills that may take months or years to pay off. You can consider relocating for a better opportunity without freaking out about the transition. You can think strategically about your long-term future instead of just surviving month to month. And ironically, the ability to think long-term and take smart risks often leads to earning more, which accelerates wealth building even further. So here is the reality check. Most people will never reach $100,000 in savings. They will spend their whole lives making decent money, maybe even six figures, and still die with very little to show for it and a lot of regret about where the money went. They will hear something like this, nod along, maybe feel inspired for a day or two, and then go right back to the same habits. They will buy things they do not need to impress people they do not like. They will finance lifestyles they cannot afford. They will claim saving is impossible while spending hundreds of dollars each month on things they forget about by next month. But if you are one of the few people who actually takes this seriously, who commits to reaching $100,000 no matter how long it takes or what you have to give up, your whole life is about to change. Not just your bank account, but your stress levels, your relationships, your career choices, and your ability to sleep at night without money anxiety keeping you awake. $100,000 is the point where you stop feeling broke and start feeling like you actually control your financial future. The path is not complicated, though it is hard. Spend less than you earn. Save the difference automatically before you can spend it. Invest consistently in boring index funds. Increase your income through strategic career moves. Avoid lifestyle inflation like it is a disease, because honestly, it is. Repeat that process for years without getting distracted by shiny things or pressure from other people to spend money you do not have. Eventually, you will wake up one day and realize you have $100,000, and money will never feel quite the same again. The choice is yours. Start building toward $100,000 or spend the rest of your life wondering where your money went.